how do you feel, like both in your training at the United Church Training School and in your early years as a minister's wife, do you have any reflections about the place of women in the church then? What were your thoughts about,
No, you know something? I don't. I understand the issues that are involved there, but I thought about that issue too. As I moved, we were then after the Cartwright experience, we were back in Union for a year, and our twins were born there. So, and then after that, we were in Winnipeg because Ellie was on faculty of the School of Theology in Winnipeg, University of Winnipeg. So I was thrilled that we had this big family. Having grown up as a kind of a kid on my own, I was absolutely thrilled with the family, and I didn't have any desire to have child care so that I could have a career. Like, the family was my career.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing that I became very aware of in doing the thinking in preparation for this was that the ministry was not Ellie's ministry. It was our ministry. And I had my place in that ministry, but I never felt like I had a lesser role or that I needed something different. And I realized as I looked through the years that I did things which I was equipped and prepared to do. Along the way, I taught Sunday school. When we moved to Vancouver, I did CGIT, and then I did youth work. I was director of Christian education in the church where we were for a few years, and 3 years I teamed with somebody else and did young people's work. When I was in Winnipeg, I was on the planning committee for the annual meeting of the conference, and did the same thing when we were here in Vancouver. That I and then began to do a lot of weekend work with young women. Good illustration. When we moved to Winnipeg, I remember early on going to something that was happening at the university and thinking, that was kind of not my place. But when I went home, I thought, okay, we're here with 4 little kids, and I'm not living on a desert island. I am a whole community with mothers who are home with kids because their husbands were off, doing work somewhere else and not around a lot. And so I started a group with the mothers that were in the community. We got together at our house and we had read a book and we discussed it, and we had a babysitter for the kids downstairs. So do you get the flavor of how that was for me?
Well, yes. I mean, women need to support each other, especially in those challenging years of bringing up, in your case, way more than one child.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Mm-hmm. And I think I remember I met with the wives of theologues that Ellie was working with. There were. What I'm trying to say is there were always opportunities, and I had the gifts and resources to do it, to do those, quote, volunteer things, I guess, on the side. Mm-hmm. But they were part of the ministry that I'd been trained to do.
But I have to ask you at this point, Evie, Did you? Because I think there's some women would have certain views on this in the church. Do you feel that your work and the work of other women in the church, not as an ordained minister, was always valued?
You know, it was valued by the people that I were working with. You know, who wants to teach the grade, have Sunday school for the grade fivers? Here am I, send me. I loved working with them. Mm-hmm. And I knew that it was significant to them as well. So I think being valued from the outside was not really a big issue for me, because I had a sense of what I had chosen to do and could initiate and could work with other people on was important and significant. And what else mattered, you know?
I guess the other thing is, and if we can take it out of your personal experience for a moment, I mean, my mother was in United Church Women, and the women were expected, it was, you know, especially in the 50s, just to be in the kitchen, prepare all the meals, often for meetings of mostly men. And, you know, I mean, you know, and I don't know whether all those women felt totally valued.
I don't know either. I suspect that some didn't. Mm-hmm. And many women who were married to ministers, once their children had left home, went back to school and got the training, and then were pastors themselves, ministers mm-hmm. themselves. And I'm sure that some of that came from a sense of not being valued or not being able to do what they really wanted to do. But I think there were some other things in my journey that, like I was sympathetic. I'm sympathetic to that cause. I'm not saying that, but you know, the men in my life, my father, my brother, my uncle, who I married, my sons, have all been fine men. That's part of my experience. And my father, who gave me a third of the farm when I was 24, and in that era, like, think about what that is. That was amazing. So my personal experience was not one of being undervalued.